Hello everyone, welcome to the week 4 PR4 tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to look at a solution in how to build last week's problem, which was this site here. So just preview this in the browser for you. So this is what we asked you to make to build upon the previous examples of what we already have. So I'll talk you through how to make this, and then at the end of the class I'll show you how to make this even more complicated as a homework exercise for next week. Okay, hope you enjoy it. So let us start by creating our site directory for this exercise. So we'll do things a little bit different this time, and the first thing we'll do is we'll set up our site without creating any files. So we'll go to Site, New Site, and we'll call this one Week 4. We will find our desktop and make a folder called Week 4. And then I can just select that and like so. Then, yes, sorry, we've just selected that one there, sorry. Advanced settings, and then we'll go to local info. We'll look for the default image folder. Now we've not created that, so we can click it here, desktop week 4, and as per usual we can create the two folders we need, images and CSS. And it's asked us for the default images folder, so obviously we'll just click this one, select folder, and then we can click save. Okay, so we can now see that our site is now mapped correctly under our files bar tab, sorry, up the top here. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to create a new HTML file and a new CSS file, and then we can save it into this site directory. So first things first, I'll create file new. I'll maybe create CSS first. Click create, and then I can go file, save as, desktop week 4, CSS folder, and I'll call this one W4, week 4. I click save, and if I click on the folder here, I can already see it. Then if I do file new, this time HTML, give it a title, week 4, HTML5, and I can even attach a style sheet at this moment. Click browse, week 4 CSS, click OK, OK again, and then I can just click create. And then I say file, save as, and I'll call this one, make sure to go up a directory, so I'm actually in the week 4 folder, and I'll just call this one week 4. And if I click save, we can see Dreamweaver's helped us already put that into our CSS. And we can tab between the two here. Okay. So that is another quick way to create a site directory, set up our two documents, link them together and save them. So now let's go back to our week 4 HTML file, and it's good practice, it's good to make some space within the body of the HTML page in order that we know where we are going to work. So we will start by making a header tag, like so. Give that some space. Inside this we're going to make an h1 tag, like so. And after the header tag we will make a nav tag. And inside the nav tag, this will hold our menu. Okay, but before we do that, we'll go to Google Fonts again in order to style or select a font in order to style our H1 tag. So here we are in Google Fonts, and what we want to do now is to go and look for a font that we like, and we can choose any we like. We might want, for example, a nice handwritten font. Sometimes that's quite good if you're making a heading or for a logo. Also a display font. These are quite bold looking fonts, again used for sort of the main content of a paragraph. Then we have what we call the sans serif fonts. These fonts are very straight. All the characters in the alphabet are very straight. And the serif fonts, all the characters have what we call a serif at the end, which is these little lines at the top of the L here or the T. So just have a look around and find a font that you think is interesting. And let me see, I think I will go for, again, I will try this one here. So if I like that one there, I can take, I can select it. And what it does is it gives me the link, like so. So I can go Control C, take that, back to Dreamweaver, and paste that into the head of the font. And then what I want to also do is I want to give that a style to the H1 font. So what I can do at the moment then, I can just go back to my browser. I can select what the font family is. C, come on, Command C. And when I make my H1 font, I can specify that the font family is, I'll just paste that in there. So when I go to use it, when I make my H1 font, I can say the H1 font uses the Bubbler 1 sans serif. Okay. So before we do that, we can just start to style our header. So at the moment we can't actually see any properties or any definition of the div tags that we have in the browser because we have not given them any properties. And also we don't have any colour of the body of the HTML page as well, and that's because the body in this time and this web page that we're going to make is just white. But nevertheless, if you want to try and experiment, feel free to give the body some colour if you'd like, or we could even try that out later on in the exercise just to see what it looks like, and we can start that there. We can even put it in just now, just to say body, and then we don't have to put any properties in, but it's there for us to remind us that we can use it. Okay, so we'll go back to the HTML and we'll first start to write the properties for the header. So now switch back to the CSS, we type in header, open ampersand, close, and again, good practice to just put in some space so that we can work. And as per usual, the width is going to go across the entire length of the browser, so we just call that 100%, semicolon to close it. And the height, this time we'll take the height to be, say, 150 pixels. Oh, sorry. A height, and we'll make it 150 pixels, like so. We'll give it a background colour. We can just use the colour picker, and we'll choose a nice grey, like so. Doesn't really matter so much. And then we just need to keep saving it. File, save all. And then we can see a preview if we click on our live tab there. So we're back to the source code, and within the H1 we can maybe now type in some text. So you can see that's adopted the characteristics of the font that I've already specified. And so then we can go back to CSS and we can now add in some more functionality to that. We could maybe give it a colour. We could maybe say, maybe we want that to be white. So we could go to, like for example, just click on live, there we go, it's updated that, and we'll maybe, for example, here we are, text align, and we can go center. Okay, so that's now centered the text in the middle of our header. Now if we want to take that down a little bit, if we want to have some more space on top of the welcome, what we can do is we can put in some padding on the header tag. So if we say, for example, padding top, like so, and we put in 20 pixels, that will give us, as you can see here, some extra padding on the top, and we can just play around with that again. We can maybe say if that's 40, Command S, or go to live view, and that's made it double the size. Now one thing that we need to be aware of is if we put a padding on the top of the header here, it adds to the overall amount of pixels within the header. So we have a height of 150 pixels and a padding top of 40 pixels. So that now means it is 190 pixels overall. So we can then take that down to be 110. And that's back to the original size of our header, which is 150. And that is made up from the 110 of the height and the padding top of the 40. So let's just try one more thing. If we make it now 120 height and padding top 30, we have the original size and an equal distance between the top and the bottom of the header tag, so the welcome text sits right in the middle. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll make the nav tag, and we'll make the buttons for the nav tag, and then we'll put a button hover over them. And in doing that, we can see when our user rolls into the buttons, and they can see the text blinking, so they know there's some kind of interaction there and invites them to click the button. So to make our nav tag, we just find some space on our CSS sheet, type in nav, open up the brackets, and again we can steal from here. If it's going to be width 100%, we can take that, we can paste it in. We want the height to be, we can just take the height from previous properties, click V, and this time we only want it to be 50 pixels. Then we'll take a background colour, and this time we want the background colour to be black, so we can just tab, find the black, like so. And if we click live, you should be able to see that. So that's us now successfully created the nav button. And what we'll do is we'll populate that with actual buttons. So we go back to the source code, and within our nav tag here, we will now create a div class button. And because we give it a class, we can use it many different times, and we can style it also all together in the CSS sheet. So we can create div class button, perhaps call one button home, div class button, perhaps call one button contact, and we can assign the same properties within the CSS, and that is the power of using a class div. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll make a div class button. And what I can then do with that, because I'm going to reuse the div class, I'm going to copy it and paste it 4 times, like so. And what I'll do in the first one, I'll call this one home. I'll call the second one design. Next one photography. Oh. And the last one, portfolio. So you can see here all the text from the buttons stacked up upon each other. So what we basically want to do is to assign all the buttons the same properties, and we want to spread them out throughout the navigation tag. And we can do that, as I said, by just giving the same properties to the same button class. Now let's switch to our CSS panel tab, and in order to speak to the div class button, we will type in .button. That's how we reference that class. Open bracket and close bracket, and we'll just give ourselves a bit of space so we can put some, so we can see where we are within the brackets there. Now what we need to do here first of all is we give it a font family. Now I've already embedded a new font from Google Fonts here, which is Roboto. So I can simply take this part here and see, and I just need to put in, so, and if I go live, it should, yes, we can see that's already taken on the properties of the Roboto font. I'll give it a size 18. Oh, I've not closed that, sorry. Font size 18, I'm going to give it colour white. And I'd like to align the content centre. Now we don't really see much of that happening just now, because they're all stacked up upon each other. So what we want to do is we want to align the buttons from left to right, and we're going to do that by using the same properties that we used last week. In that, we are going to assign the nav to be the parent tab and the button to be the child tab. So if we give the nav the properties of the parent can then control the child properties. So the child properties will inherit the same properties from the parent. So for example, if we now go display and attach that to the nav tab, nav tag, and we type in flex, everything within the nav tag will display in this flex way. So all the buttons, as we see here, div class button, home, design, photography, and properties, will inherit the properties from the div class nav, like so. So because we put on flex on that aligns all these buttons left to right. Okay, now what we'd like to do is we want to create some space between the buttons themselves, so we can put a margin, and this time we're going to put a margin on the left hand side. So say for example we say margin left 50 pixels. We have now got 50 pixels between here and there, between design and the end of the home button, and photography and the end of design button. So what we want to do is we want to make that around 350 pixels, okay? And I'm taking that within reference to the size of my actual screen. So if I preview this, yes, we can kind of see that spreads pretty much evenly across the entire browser of these 4 buttons. Now the last thing we want to do is we want to put in a bit of a margin on the top of the buttons themselves. So if we go to here and we go to margin dash top, and we say 15 pixels. Sorry, 15 pixels. We can see it now drops it down a little bit, and it kind of centers that within the nav tag itself. So that is how we make our navigation bar. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a hover over the button so that when we roll into it we can see the button blinking. Now let's again look at w3schools.com. Now within here we can see a brilliant resource for using different features of HTML. Now if we click on CSS3 buttons, we can see how all the code to make all these buttons here is actually made up, and it gives us a lot of different examples. Shows you, for example, if you want to make a button rounded, or for example a semi-rounded button, 2 pixels, 4 pixels, 12 pixels, 50% border radius there, that will give you this nice rounded button. Coloured button borders, there's all the code you would need to do something like that. But we're just going to do a very basic button hover. So all we need is this code here, which is button hover. This refers to a button class. We're going to give it a hover class, and this one's same here. The background colour is a green, and that's going to change from green to white. Okay, so we'll go back to Dreamweaver and we'll just type in button colon hover, open brackets, close, and we've only got one colour here, so we're just going to change it from white when we roll over it, and we'll maybe change it to this nice aqua. Click live, and then when we roll in we can see our buttons now change, and that's called the hover state. So we'll go back to W3C Schools, play around, explore what some of the code does, try things out, copy and paste some of it, and see how you go on. Now we'll look at creating the middle section of our web page. So for quickness, I've already added in my div tags here. Now we can see that just beyond the last nav tag, we have created a div class container 1, and that tag open here and it closes there. So what I've done here, just for illustration purposes, I've put a comment in, and this is good to see when you start building up lots of lines of code, where your code starts and where it stops. Okay, so what's a good idea now is to put a closing comment in, and we can do that by just typing the following, and we'll type in container close. So this means that the div class container 1 opens here and it closes there. We can also notice that the div class box1 opens here and it closes there. Box2 opens here, closes here, and box3 opens there and closes there. So we can use this little feature here on Dreamweaver. For example, we just click here, apply HTML comment, and we can type in box-1 open, and here again comment box-1 close. Okay, now as I said, this is quite a nice practice to get into when you get a lot of different code. Anyway, so inside these boxes, or inside the container, we have a box1 which contains an h3 tag and a paragraph tag, and we've just put some filler text in there just now. So what we're going to do is we're going to style all these different tags so that it looks like the website that we've previously seen. So let's now move to our CSS panel. So now we're in the CSS panel, and we can see that we've put in another comment here to show where the 3 sections that we're working with, where they start within the CSS. And if we scroll down, we can see that beyond this one is where they end. So again, we can put in here a little comment, and the comment tab is this one here. And this time, instead of putting in a HTML comment, we put one in that will apply to the CSS. So we can just type in, we just clicked it there, our 3 section column finishes here. Oh. And that's a good way to see where we are and what part of the CSS that we're working on. So I've put all the properties in for all the corresponding div tags that we had. We have an h3 tag, paragraph tag, a dot container 1 or a div class container 1, which is this one here. Then we've got a div class box 1, div class box 2 and div class box 3. So if we just double check back, so we've got div class box 1 which contains an h3 tag and a paragraph tag. Okay, so those fonts are not styled, so what first thing we'll do is we'll just give a bit of style to those fonts. So the h3 tag, we'll just quickly give it a font family. So that's now changed our h3 font, and we'll now look at giving the font family for the paragraph tag, and we'll change this one to we'll just choose the same font. We'll just choose Verdana again. Keep it nice and consistent. Okay, so the next thing that we'll do is we'll begin to shape the container and the colour of the boxes inside it so we can see how they are actually separated. So we'll now start applying some properties to this class container 1. Now the first thing we'll do, we'll give it a background colour in order that we can see it. And we'll go to colour picker, and we can also use this actual colour picker there to select colours. Oh, if you like. Or we can choose the same grey, like so, and then we can click return. So that should be the same colour as the header. And we're going to give it a bit of a padding between the top and the bottom and the left and the right. So if we just type in padding, like so, and if we just type in 10 pixels, that means we'll get 10 pixels both left, right and the top and the bottom, as we can see here. So that's good, and you can see it's giving us that space all the way around. Now the next one's a nice little trick, and it's called using CSS selectors. So if we look back to our code here, we can see that inside div class container 1 we have div class box 1, box 2 and box 3. So when we use a CSS selector, we can basically point to any div or any tag within another class or another div, and we can point to it specifically. So what we want to do just now is we want to create a border around the container. So to start with, we'll type in border. We'll give it a 1 pixel border. We'll give it a colour of CCC, which is white, and we'll give it a solid outline. So we can see that there, that's applied the border all the way around the entire container 1 div. Okay. Now if we put in here that we want to attach this to every div inside the div class container 1, we simply type in div here, and that puts the border around all 3 of those divs contained within the div class container 1. So the next thing we'll do is we'll put the box 1, box 2 and box 3 across the browser or across the web page from left to right. So this means what we need to do is we need to again type in dot container -1, and we'll give the display flex property to that one. So that means everything inside the container that we've made in our HTML, div class container 1 is the parent, and everything inside that, div class box 1, box 2, box 3, will inherit the properties from the parent. So we can simply say display flex, and box 1, box 2, box 3 has inherited the flex property from the div class container 1. So that's nice, that's set up that quite well. So if we look in the live view, we can see that the boxes go from left to right. Now, what we do notice that the size of these boxes are limited to the content contained within them. So we can play around with that at the moment, and we can try different things by using this property here, flex, and we can determine how many columns each box will populate over the size of the browser. So if we say each box populates one column, like so, I can just copy that, paste that, go to live view, and that's giving it one column each across the entire browser. Okay, so that's quite nice. We could also do that with making the width 33%. That would also work, but doing it this way, it gives us a little bit more flexibility. Now, if we wanted to change the size of the box 1, we could say we want that one to take up 2 columns. If we look in the live view, we can see that that's taking up 2 positions or 2 columns of space, and these 2 are only taking up 1 column of space. If we try that again, we can maybe look to have 3 columns, or 3 amount the times of space that box 2 and box 3 are populating. Okay, now another feature we can add in is the order of the columns. So for example, if order 1 is the default position for all the boxes, if everything starts at 1, box 1 will be here, box 2 will be here, and box 3 will be here. But for example, why don't we say box 1 should be in position 3? Well, we then just change the order of that to 3, and box 1 takes up position 3. And box 3, if we want that to go to position 1, we could just tell box 2 to be position 2, and by default, box 3 will land in position 1. So that's an interesting little feature that Flex also offers as a way to create space and to distribute our div tags across our web pages. So now we'll look at creating the last box, and then we'll give you an exercise that you can study for next week. Now let's look at the last section of the homework exercise that we had to make for this week. So I've already started putting in the divs and the classes of what we needed. So on the page here, it doesn't look like much. I've just got some lorem ipsum text contained within the paragraph tag. But the actual structure of that, we have a div class main column, which starts here and ends there. So what again is good practice, if we put a comment in, apply HTML comment, and we can say main column starts here. Then we'll put another HTML comment in here, and we can just say, just paste that, Command C, Command V, and then we'll just say ends here. And again, as you can see, all the code that we're getting, it's good to actually put the comments in to see where we actually are. Then we have inside that div class left tag, which opens here and closes there. So again, I'm going to put in a comment. I'll say left starts, just for quickness, and I'll put another tag in here and put in left ends. You can see where the right starts and the right ends there. Very quickly. We can also type it. We can also just do dash dash right starts dash dash, close it off, and again here dash dash right ends. So this is particularly good if you're making websites within a team, because you know where you are. If you're picking up code from somebody else, you know exactly what they're thinking and what they're doing. So we'll now look at how we style the main column, the left div and the right div, and also the paragraphs are obviously taken on the properties from the previous paragraph tag that we've already made here. Now we're nearly finished, so in our CSS we just need to style the properties of the div tags that we've just previously made here. So let's just double check. We need to make a class for the main column, class for the left, class for the right, sorry. So we go dot main column, open bracket, close bracket, and we're going to give this quite a lot of properties. The first thing we're going to do is display flex, and that means that the two left and right column within it will inherit those properties, and you'll see here what's happened as I'll display side by side. Now it doesn't look so nice just now because of all the same text, same lorem ipsum, but we can add some extra features into that. Now we'll give the width of this 95%, so we want a little bit of space coming in here just to add a nice feature so we can see it. If we go live, it's coming up to here 95%, so we've got this here to play with, and what we can do with that, we can give it a margin left auto and a margin right auto in order to kind of centre it. So we've already done this before. So we go margin left auto and margin right auto. We go to live, we can see that 95% has been distributed equal between the left side and the right side, and with a little bit of space either side to play around with. So back to the source code, back to the CSS. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll give it a bit of a border so we can actually see it. So we can type in border, and we want to give it a 1 pixel solid border like so. And that just gives it a 1 pixel black border like that. Next we'll add in a bit of padding, and the padding will give us 10 pixels, and the 10 pixels will give in some space to allow the text a little bit to be more readable. And the next thing we'll do is we'll give it a margin at the top, so we'll separate it from these box 3, box 2 and box 1. At the top, and we'll say 20 pixels, and that pushes it down a little bit. So that's nearly there. Get back to your source code, and what's quite nice to do at the moment is to add in this tag which is called strong, and what this does is it makes some of the text bold. So we can take that here and we can wrap it around just the lorem ipsum text there. So that there is our main column now styled. Now let's have a look at that, see how it looks. That's quite nice. I'll preview that file, preview in the browser. And there we can see the page that we had to make for last week's homework. So I've made a few different variations on it. I think the one we made at the end of last week, we have this distributed evenly across the browser, and I think we've got a little more text in here, but nevertheless it gives you the chance to play around and try different sizes, different paddings and different margins, etc. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few other features in at the bottom of the page here, and then we can see if we can look at trying it out for next week. So I hope you did well and you managed to make the tutorial for this week. And as you see, you've got in the browser here, we have another two sections. So again, we're just kind of mixing up the knowledge that we have previously gained from the last tutorials, and we're just trying different things out, different variations of it, in order to make more interesting looking pages. So this is week 4, so we have this week 5, 6 and 7. So we've got a little bit of time left, and what we'll be doing in between now and then, we'll be working more with images. We'll be linking up web pages. So once we've made a fully functioning page like this, we can duplicate it, name it page 2, change it around, add a video in, things like that, and we can very quickly make a fully functioning website. So try your best to finish what we have for next week, and again, as you know, what we'll do is we'll expand on this tutorial and make even more interesting features and to finally make a fully fledged website. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in class this week. Thanks, bye bye.